All right, we are live again from the Wisconsin Sports Heroics and Wisco Fanatics Facebook pages and the Wisco Fanatics YouTube page. And we got a lot going on today. We're going to be talking about the Packers. We're going to be talking about MMA and boxing, and we're going to be talking about the Brewers. Excited to welcome back some guests today. Getting into our second season of the Packers during the Wisco Fanatics show. So we are excited to welcome back Josh, our Packer expert. Josh, how you doing? It's been a while.
Hey, I'm doing great. Yeah, it's good to be on here. It's good to have football season back in swing of things, and it's great. I'm really excited for this season. I'm interested to see what happens. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes this year, I think in particular, compared to past years, and it's going to be fun. That's for sure.
All right, so we are going to break down. We're each going to go with 3 players on offense and 3 players on defense to watch during these last 2 preseason games. Tim, what's up? Welcome back again. 3 players on offense, 3 players on defense to watch during these last 2 preseason games. Only 3 preseason games this year, with the 17th game being added to the regular season. So that being said, why don't we start with, you guys want to start with offense or defense?
Offense.
All right, so we're going to start with offense. Jake, since you're so enthusiastic, I'll let you give your first offensive player to watch during the preseason. I'll let you go first.
First of all, hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. My first offensive player to watch, I think it should be everybody's first. I think it's on everybody's mind. It's been the story for the last 2 years. 100% is Jordan Love. All the drama, all the backstory behind it. I mean, Rodgers just came out with a quote. I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, but he talks about how he was 50-50 on retiring. So you've got to find out if investing, and trading up in the first round for this quarterback is worth it. Well, the first player to watch, in my opinion, is Jordan Love.
All right, did Tyler freeze up there?
I think he did. Okay. Josh, why don't you give me your first player to watch then?
I can't even – I'm just going to say the words out of your mouth. It has to be Jordan Love, for sure. For sure. I mean, he's the future, right?
Yeah, I had Jordan Love for my number 1 as well. Yep. All right. Well, let's Josh, I'll let you give your number 2, and then I'll go first for my last one.
Okay. My number 2, most draft picks are seen as the future, of course, just like Jordan Love was. There's one draft pick in particular that is currently I asked a couple of them from this past draft, actually, that are the present. My number 2 is Josh Myers. Josh Myers, rookie center out of Ohio State, replacing the great Corey Linsley, who left for the Los Angeles Chargers. He is the Packers center. They don't really have a backup option. And if he shows up this year and has a phenomenal rookie season, I think the Packers will do great. A lot on the offense is obviously weighing on his shoulders. And as long as Josh Myers does well, I think the Packers offense, they're going to do great things. But it starts with Josh Myers, watching him in the preseason. And Aaron Rodgers post-practice press conference with the Jets today, he literally said Josh Myers didn't have a great practice today. He wasn't as mentally sharp. He saw some new things with that Jets defensive line and has to get those cleaned up. Otherwise, might have some issues in the regular season. And Aaron said, I'm paraphrasing here, but Josh Myers has to think as fast as I think. And that starts in the preseason, and he has to translate that, not only catch up to speed, but translate that into the regular season. So that's number 2 to watch.
Yeah. Tyler and I actually went to the first practice this year, and the first snap between Rodgers and Myers was a fumble.
Saw that.
I was like, well, if anybody's going to get this guy in shape, it's going to be a veteran. It's going to be an Aaron Rodgers. Yep. He's always the smartest guy in the room, like we always say. So he'll get him in shape, but I definitely think that was a very good pick. My number 2, now this one might be a little bit of a forgotten guy. People might have written him off already, but to me, it's Jace Sternberger, another guy to watch. Tight end room is getting pretty crowded. I mean, we got Tunyon, we got Big Dog, we got DeGuara coming back off the ACL, and we have Dominique Daphne, who looked pretty good at the end of the season there. So if Jace is going to find a spot, he's really going to have to impress in preseason and in his blocking and really show that he can make a difference. I mean, he made a really nice catch in that first preseason game from Love right up the middle of the field. But other than that, we haven't really seen much from Jay Sternberger other than a couple practice highlights. So Jay Sternberger is really going to have to carve out a spot here, because after you hear my number 3, that's another crowded position group. Tyler, what's your number 1 and number 2? Give us your first 2 real quick.
Well, my number 1 was Jordan Love also, just we finally get to see him play. So that was pretty much, like you said, a no-brainer that everybody should be having their eyes on. My number 2 is Kylan Hill. He really slid down in the draft. He was viewed as a steal in the draft because of some of the stuff that he had going on, some issues with his coaches in college and stuff. So he really slid down that draft. And, what I've seen from camp so far is that he's doing really well. What we saw from him when Jake and I went to the practice, he looks good. He looks fast. So for me, what I'm looking for from Kylan Hill is potential special teams contributions, and to see if he could possibly challenge Dexter Williams for that running back 3 role, ultimately to slide in third on that running back depth chart, even though Dexter Williams has been a guy that the Packers have been a fan of in years past. But I said we'll kick it back to Josh. We'll let you give your third one if you haven't done that already.
Nope. Josh.
Yeah. So, one thing that Matt LaFleur does that different from Mike McCarthy is he really, he subs guys in and out constantly. He uses a lot of his players. Back in the day, Mike McCarthy would openly say, with Eddie Lacy, you want to get him 20 snaps a game, 25 snaps a game, put him on a snap count, and then maybe we'll use that number 2 running back for strictly running purposes. Matt LaFleur, different approach. He shuffles guys in and out according to their strengths. That's just his style. And my point being is Matt LaFleur is going to use that running back 3 spot. He's going to use that third guy. That third guy will play. It's not like this is for depth chart purposes. That third guy is going to play. He will play. And for me, that's Kylan Hill. He separated himself in the first preseason game. We'll see what happens in games 2 and 3, just like Tyler said. So it's going to be interesting to see how these next 2 games, maybe let's see if Patrick Taylor and Dexter Williams throw themselves back in the mix. But for now, it's Kylan Hill. It's looking like Kylan Hill. And going forward, that's something we all should watch for.
Jake, who's your last guy?
All right, so I had a really, really hard time. And Josh, be aware, I'm going to have a couple questions for you because you are the Packer expert. So I have prepared some stuff for you. All right. So for me, it's a position group. It's a battle at wide receiver. So we have 6 who you can debate till you're blue in the face, but these 6 are staying no matter what. Adams, MVS, Funches, Cobb, Lazard, and Amari Rodgers, who we spent the 3rd-round pick on. Those guys are all staying. So fighting for one spot, if the Packers decide to keep 7 wide receivers, is EQ, who he's shown flashes. It's a big guy. I mean, he's made a couple nice plays. I mean, Malik Taylor, we've had him around for how many years now? Has never panned out. Begleton's been here. Jawan Winfrey and Chris Blair. You got those 5 guys fighting for one potential spot if they choose to use it. And that's also why I brought up Sternberger, because we already have 4 tight ends. Are we going to keep a 5th tight end? Are we going to keep 7 wide receivers? I don't know what's going to happen. A lot of interesting stuff. When we get to defense, there's a couple positions where it seems to be a little crowded as well, because we're still kind of looking for the guy at some positions. But, battle wide receiver, it's going to be interesting. If I had to pick one of those guys, it would obviously be EQ. He's the only guy with upside, in that situation with size. But we'll see what happens. He seems to always be injured, and you know how Tyler and I feel about injuries. Health is a skill, and if you're not going to make sure that you're always healthy and working out, how do you always end up hurt? How does somebody always end up hurt? Are you really just that unlucky? I don't believe it.
All right. So my number 3 guy is the 2nd-round pick is Josh Myers. He's the last guy I'm keeping an eye on. Just because the Packers let Corey Linsley walk, and they walked into the draft and into training camp with a lot of question marks on the offensive line, including the health of David Bakhtiari. So what I'm looking for from Josh Myers is to see if he continues to perform well, if he can win that starting center job as a rookie. I've heard Rodgers say some good things about him, and I've seen some good reports about him. But still, to go from being a rookie, even though he's from Ohio State, which is usually a pro-ready program,
Yes.
to come into a starting center role for the Green Bay Packers, who were in the NFC Championship game last year, and to step into a role like that with Aaron Rodgers right behind you is a big deal. So I'm looking for Josh Myers to see if he can continue to perform well at that center position and see if he can win that center job over, I would think it would be probably Lucas Patrick would be the other contestant there.
Lucas Patrick right now, actually. Absolutely perfect transition. The other center we drafted last year with Jake Hansen out of Oregon. So that's the guy I believe he's fighting with for that center spot. So this is why I said perfect transition. Heard a lot of good things. We saw him play last year. John Runyon. This is one of my questions, Josh. With Bakhtiari being questioned with health, Runyon's gotten work at left guard. He's listed as a right guard. He's played right tackle.
Yep.
How do you feel about a guy like John Runyon?
Honestly, he came in actually week 1 of last season when I believe Lane Taylor went down. Was a double biceps injury, I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's unfortunate. I think Lane's I don't know where he went now. The Texans, maybe.
No, he's not on my team, so okay.
Anyways, we're gonna mix this barbecue and go back. But besides the point, it's John Runyon Jr. He's gonna play. I think. I think it's all when David Bakhtiari comes back. That's the big formula. Whenever he comes back, everything snaps into place. Elton Jenkins goes back to left guard. Myers. You have Billy Turner, obviously, and then maybe Lucas Patrick there. But otherwise, there's so many guys in the mix. I don't even want to say it's going to be a definitive starter. And I don't even know if the Packers know week 1 who it'll be. And I'm serious about that in terms of who's going to be in there. I think it's going to be start week 1 with the guy you think you're confident in. And if he doesn't, play to that standard, you're going to throw somebody else in there. So I think it's kind of a fluid situation, but I'm actually looking at the Packers depth chart right now. It's going to be Elton Jenkins left tackle. Left guard is probably going to be John Runyon, and then it's going to be Josh Myers center, Lucas Patrick probably right guard, or Ben Braden, and then right tackle is going to be Billy Turner. But don't forget about Dennis Kelly, that veteran that the Packers.
Dennis Kelly, yep.
So the Packers have tons of depth right now, which is awesome. But you can have all the depth you want, but if your starting 5 can't play well together, especially with the snap count and Aaron Rodgers and things, then it gets tricky.
Yeah, you gotta find that right formula. Offensive line is very interesting with all the draft picks the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's 2 of my questions, and they involve special teams because you are on top of being the Packers, expert. You're the special teams expert.
All right.
How did you think they looked on Saturday?
Terrible, just terrible.
No.
Honestly, it's I don't even know if there is. I did watch the game. To be full disclosure, I don't know if it was an improvement over Sean Menenga. Again, it's preseason week 1. We'll find out what happens. Regardless, it's at least the same as it was last season. And that can't be the case. You get into these postseason games and that's where everything counts. You have to play well in all 3 facets of the game. Again, it's week 1 of the preseason. I'm not going to throw too many big words, but disappointing would be the one word I'd say.
I saw Tyler this weekend. We were hanging out, and I was like, I can't wait to talk to Josh, dude.
Hey, one guy who really is getting after it on special teams. I think it was Kabian Ento or Ennis Gaines. They were double teamed. On a punt, and I got away from the double team, made the tackle. I'm actually gonna have to go back and find that. I was watching it today.
Yeah,
if that stuff happens in the regular season, that's awesome. Like we need more of that.
That's what we're looking for.
But right now, I'll put it this way: you can't get any worse. As long as Mason Crosby hits his field goals, maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah, he's holding the special teams all by himself.
Yeah.
So now I told Tyler about this. How do you feel about Hill as the kick returner and Amari Rodgers, obviously, as the punt returner?
I think it's so far that sounds what it's going to be. How do I feel about that? It's good. I like it, honestly. Packers haven't had much for kick return or punt return in years, really. Not even since Randall Cobb, I don't think. So it's been a long time since the Packers have had solid special teams, which is, it is what it is. What are you going to do? You can bring in as many coordinators as you want. but until you actually produce results, it's just not going to be there. So Callan Hill, I think he's got the speed, he's got the explosiveness. Same thing. I mean, Amari Rogers is Randall Cobb on steroids. I know we brought back Randall Cobb, whatever, but Amari is Randall Cobb on steroids. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger. It could be a lot of fun.
Dude, I am so excited that Cobb is here to show to show Amari exactly what Aaron is thinking. Like, he wants you in this spot at this time.
Yeah.
Because, Cobb obviously has that history with him. So if he can get him up to speed a little bit faster, oh man, it's about to be bad for defenses because they're going to have to worry about all this side-to-side stuff. And then they got a 260-pound Incredible Hulk coming at you. Holy shit. I pray. That's all I say.
Since we're talking about offense, let me just say that the type of players we have on offense are, I think, exactly to what Matt LaFleur wants. Yeah, I think Amari Rogers, if you pick a perfect size for a wide receiver for Matt LaFleur, it's Amari Rogers. Honestly, like we don't. I know MVS is huge in Dalton's with Stephen Funches, but I don't think that's the kind of the style necessarily that Matt LaFleur needs on his offense, and that's why it's going to be so fun. That's why I think the Packers will keep 6 wide receivers on that team, and yeah, I think it's going to be 2. I know we can probably get this later, but 2 QBs, 3 running backs, 5 tight ends, 6 wide receivers. So it's going to be.
You think they're going to keep 5 tight ends, man?
I think so.
I mean, they do run a lot of 2 tight end sets, so I can see it.
Yes.
And like you said, he uses his backups, rotating everybody, keep everybody fresh. It's a lot, man. Keeping 5 tight ends, that's a lot.
It's going to happen. Honestly, this isn't Mike McCarthy anymore. We're not throwing the ball down the field. All right. This is tight end central over here with Matt LaFleur's offense.
Hey, I'm cool with it as long as they score points, baby.
As good as the offense of the Packers has been, the one thing they've been missing is a locked and loaded slot receiver. That's why they've lined Devontae up in the slot at times, and now they have, basically 2 true slot receivers right now. One being a guy who's had great chemistry with Rodgers, who can now teach the next generation of slot receivers. And Jake and I talked about this when we went to practice, was if Amari Rodgers and Jordan Love can develop the kind of chemistry that Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb have, and that transition can go in there. I mean, the Packers, you can kind of start to see it forming already, the next great Packers offense, potentially.
Yep.
If, let's say, the Packers aren't able to retain Devontae and they trade Aaron Rodgers for all of the draft picks, you can already start to see it forming where you have Jordan Love, you have A.J. Dillon, and you have Amari Rodgers being the sort of the next guys up to take over for this Packers offense. And it's exciting seeing that, the depth that the Packers have now, and they have time to develop it because the guys they have are still good.
Oh, yeah.
Now, before we move on to defense, let's answer Isaac's question. Do you think our run duo can make top 5? What do you think, Josh?
In terms of like yards production, like rushing yards in the top 5 of the league for a team, oh yeah, no question about it. It's Matt LaFleur's offense, Aaron Jones, human pinball machine, and you have Quadzilla there, the human bulldozer. I think A.J. Dillon's like everything that everybody wanted out of Eddie Lacy, but like leaner, and he's just huge. So it's actually
weight in his legs, not his belly.
He said he put 4 pounds of muscle on each leg over the offseason, which is unbelievable.
Why? What's wrong with this guy? He's going to look like a popcorn bag. He's going to be too damn big. He's going to pop.
So another reason why I think the Packers are going to keep 3 running, or going to use all 3 running backs, is because Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are not the same running back. They're not going to be used in the same situations. They're going to be used differently, I think. And obviously they have different strengths for a reason. But, that's why I think Callan Hill is going to be the dude. He's explosive. That's one thing I really like. I think he's closer to – the thing is Callan Hill is closer to Aaron Jones in his physique, and Patrick Taylor is actually about the same build as A.J. Dillon. So I don't know what the Packers are going to do with Patrick Taylor, maybe practice squad, but I could even see him getting some snaps at some point in the regular season. So, again, this is all speculation. We've been 1 game down. We'll have to see what happens against the Jets.
I agree, man.
Before I move on to defense, I just want to throw out there that I would be okay with trading Jay Sternberger for like a 5th-round pick.
Yes.
If we can get a 5th rounder for him, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So moving into defense, before we start, I just want to throw out there the Packers traded Josh Jackson for Isaac Yiadom, I believe is how it's said.
Don't
really think this makes a huge difference to the defense or to the corners. They were both second-round picks in the same draft, so it's basically just one for one. You can try to get something out of this guy. We'll try to get something out of this guy. That being said, my number one, however you want to say it, Josh mentioned his name already, is Kabion Ento. His name's coming up as far as cornerback depth is going in training camp. There's really cornerback depth is kind of one of those iffy positions for the Packers. Kevin King has a really big love-hate relationship with the fan base. He's on a 1-year prove-it deal. I personally think Eric Stokes is going to be the other starting or cornerback by week 5. Even if Kevin King starts as the other cornerback opposite Jair Alexander in week 1. And then, you're looking at basically Jair, Kevin King, Eric Stokes, and then after that, it's kind of wide open. And, Chandon Sullivan's probably going to be in that mix. Yeah. And then after that, I'm looking at Kabion Ento. He's been with the Packers for a couple of years now, and he's making some noise in training camp. So he's a guy that I'm looking for. Josh already mentioned he can contribute on special teams. And so Kabion Ento is my number 3 or number 1, however you want to look at it, player for defense. Jake, who's yours?
About Ento real quick. During the game on Saturday, they said that he was going to make the roster last year, and then he got hurt right before the roster cut. So that's why he was thrown out of the practice squad. So this is the guy that they've obviously liked for the last 2 years.
Yep.
My number 1, number 3, like Tyler said, however you want to say it, it's Eric Stokes. We all know what happened in the NFC Championship game. We watched Kevin King 2 years ago against the 49ers. That other cornerback position has really, really been lacking outside of Jair Alexander. We all know what Ja Money, Ja Island, Ja going to get paid pretty damn soon. We all know what he can do. He knocks the ball down. You don't throw at him because it ain't going to work the way you want it to work. The other cornerback position is going to get all the work. You have a guy like Eric Stokes. We talked about it. We moved up. Tyler and I were just like shook during draft day. I'm sure everybody else was. We were just like, who's Eric Stokes? We all of a sudden, everybody's diving in and doing 6 hours of research on Eric Stokes. Oh, he's fast. Yeah, really fast and really long.
He's real fast.
Really athletic. We have to find out what he is. And in practice, they've been trying because Kevin King's been kind of banged up. They've been holding Jair a little bit.
Testing him.
They've been putting Stokes on Adams, and he's been holding up pretty good. He's been getting taught a couple lessons.
Yeah, Rodgers is testing him.
He's been getting taught a couple lessons, but you're going against one of the best quarterbacks, and you're going against the best wide receiver in the league. So Eric Stokes is getting thrown right into the fire, and I actually personally believe they should just start him day one.
I agree.
If you invest in the first-round pick, you just got to go for it. I think he's that talented. You've already been throwing him into the fire, so might as well just go for it, right?
I agree. I think they should start him right away too because he profiles more of the way that Jair plays, more of a lockdown corner than a guy like, say, Xavier Howard, who plays more for turnovers, interceptions, and stuff. So that said, if you have 2 lockdown guys and you're forcing teams to either check down, which kind of plays into some of the Packers' strengths, or try to throw the deep ball, I think that potentially opens up a big potential breakout year for a guy like Darnell Savage to make some plays and create some turnovers with 2 lockdown corners on the field at the same time.
10 picks.
All right.
Josh, who's
your guy to watch on defense?
Yeah, so my number 3 is going to be Vernon Scott. I watched that preseason game. He is a hard-hitting safety. And he did cover well. He did well on special teams. I just think if he can relieve maybe Adrian Amos or Darnell Savage once in a while and actually be a reliable, maybe like second down, third down guy, that'd be really, really helpful for this defense, get a breather, and honestly just to have options. So it's going to be Vernon Scott. I really like the way he played in the preseason. I just actually rewatched that game a couple hours ago, and he just kept popping up on my TV. And I'm like, wait a minute. Vernon Scott. Like he just kept showing up to me, and to me, that's just like he's a guy to watch. Oh my gosh, who do the Packers just play in preseason? I'm totally drawing a blank.
Texans.
Thank you.
Texans.
Thank you, Texans. I was trying to think of the quarterback, but Deshaun Watson wasn't out there. That's what I was trying. But the rookie quarterback from Stanford, thank you, for the Texans, kept tossing the ball at Josh Jackson. That's another observation I had. And it was, I mean, when you're targeting a guy like that in the preseason, it's evident that the team knows that he's just not good. So I could see what Josh Jackson.
I read that.
Like 4 plays.
I read that Josh Jackson gave up 11 catches on Saturday.
Oh my, yeah, I know. Well, I believe it.
He probably gave up the first 10. I'll tell you that.
So hopefully gets a fresh start in New York. But anyways, Vernon Scott, he's my guy to watch. I really like what I saw in this first preseason game.
Dude, Scott was laying down the law the other day.
Yeah.
He came in and smacked the running back right in the middle of the pile. And I thought it was the lineman that came from the side. All of a sudden, they're like, Vernon Scott with the tackle, and he gets up and he's in his face. I'm like, you are way too little to be hitting people like that, dog. Holy shit. He played well. I agree.
All right. So my second guy to watch is TJ Slatton. He's the defensive tackle that we drafted from Florida. I think as far as defensive line goes, it's going to be a really big position group of scrutiny for the Packers because it's not been a very productive position group for the Packers. I get that the Packers play a 3-4 and you're not looking for a ton of production out of them statistically, but those 3 guys up there, their job is to take up blocks and stuff like that. But you also want to be able to get some pressure once in a while and not just take up space. That being said, looking at defensive line depth is actually going to be both of my next 2 guys that I bring up. But TJ Slatton is the first one I'm looking at to back up Kenny Clark, who's had some injuries. I see Isaac mentioning my other guy in the comments already, bringing up Jack Heflin, who's going to be my other guy. But really need some defensive line depth outside of Kenny Clark and Dean Lowry, who I think is serviceable at times, and then Tyler Lancaster. So, Josh, who is your second guy to watch?
Yeah, so my he's still out of my mouth. Second guy to watch it, I think it's TJ. I think it's Slayton. I don't know if it's Slayton the right pronunciation.
I don't know if it's Slatton or Slayton. Okay. I'll have to look it up on YouTube and get back to it. It's Slayton. All right.
Okay. So TJ Slayton, and that 3-4 defense, you want that nose tackle to be big. He's 6'4", 330 pounds, takes up a lot of space. That's what you need. You need some confusion and some disruption and some chaos, actually, out of that nose tackle position, specifically in 3-4. Again, it's week 1. We're going to have to really see what Joe Barry brings to the table. In terms of this Packers team, none of us really know, besides maybe Joe Barry, what that's going to look like week 1 of the preseason. But I will do honorable mention of Jack Heflin. His hustle and his willingness to get away from I guess as a pile, the trenches, and get after the ball was really fun to watch. We'll see if he keeps it up, but definitely honorable mention for Jack there.
All right, so for my number 2, we are going to go 3 for 3. I have Tadarius Slayton as my number 2 player to watch. I looked up his real name. Tried to be fun with it. 5th round, 173rd pick. He's a big guy, man, and we talk about depth a lot, but in my opinion, no depth is more important on a team than in the trenches, especially on defense, because those guys get so tired and they rotate so much. So having a big guy that can go in for Kenny, or maybe we can move Kenny around. We could put him at a DN spot, one play or something like that. I'm not sure how they're going to use him, but Kenny's talented enough to make it work, in my opinion. But having a guy like TJ, he's humongous. Like Josh said, he's 6'4", 330 pounds. It's almost impossible to not see him on the field. And I got 2 little nuggets. One, my dad always taught me when I was a little kid, if you wanted to learn how big a guy is, look how small their numbers look on them. Because the more jersey they have, the smaller the numbers are. So that's number 1. And did you guys know that Slayton can dunk a basketball?
Yeah, I saw that.
I did not.
330 pounds dunking a ball.
That's insane.
He played center in high school, and he still to this day, I read a little story on him today. He still to this day brags about his skill on the hardwood.
That's awesome.
Multi-talented guy.
Like Glenn Big Baby Davis over here.
Oh, God, I'm not getting in front of 330. I'm a pretty big guy, but 330, and he knows how to use it, that is scary.
So, to this point, and, which fits in with my last guy, which is Jack Heflin, I've seen reports that they're moving guys around on that defensive line. They were letting Tyler Lancaster get some work at nose tackle, and they're moving guys around on this defensive line. So I really think that this is the reason why I have 2 defensive linemen on my list, is moving guys around. And when we talked about the coordinators, Jake and I, back in February, we talked about Joe Barry wanting guys to be able to move around and play different positions. And to, what I mentioned was having the pre-snap motion that the offense does to confuse defenses, to flip that around and to, have things disguised on the defensive end to be able to confuse offenses to see whether the Packers are going to be blitzing or playing zone coverage or man coverage. So being able to move guys around and not, just be looking, if you're a right tackle and you're saying you're looking across from Tyler Lancaster the entire game, that, the next play you look up and then it's Kenny Clark in front of you. And you kind of have to, deal with that, and you're dealing with a different guy and, arguably a Pro Bowl level talent in Kenny Clark as long as he's healthy. So I'm really, really looking at that defensive line in these next 2 preseason games. Jake, who do you got for your last one?
My last one, I circled one guy who looked really, really good on Saturday, and then kind of the position in whole. But it's Oren Burks. He looked really good, showed great ability to penetrate the hole. He made a lot of tackles behind the line. He looked awesome, in my opinion. But kind of just the middle linebacker position, man. We got a Devondre Campbell, who's kind of been, thrown around a little bit these last couple of years. We got Chris Barnes, who everybody agrees is a starting linebacker for us. I mean, word is that Campbell's been looking really, really good. We got Kamal Martin, who people were excited for. We got Ty Summers, who nobody knows what he really is. And we have Oren Burks. So, I mean, middle linebacker has always kind of been a problem for the Packers since really Nick Barnett, who was really the last good middle linebacker the Packers have had. I can't remember the last great middle linebacker because I've never seen a great middle linebacker in Green Bay in my lifetime. I almost said Milwaukee right there because we talk about Milwaukee so much. But Oren Burks really has to figure it out. He has a lot of speed, and if he can figure out a way to be able to cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield with that speed, he could really, really be a big tool for us on third downs.
I was just going to say, especially in passing situations.
Yes.
I flashed the comment on there. Isaac said the Packers are rumored to be bringing back Mike Daniels. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I also we're bringing back Clay Matthews, so we'll see what happens.
Well, what I saw from that was that they were all on a video chat together this weekend, and they were all joking about the Clay Matthews thing, and not actively trying to get him brought back. So, for anybody concerned, the Packers are just letting Rodgers run the team and bring back all of his old friends.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say honorable mention. A guy who is now converted farmer from football player. That is Clay Matthews. Apparently, he's a farmer now, according to Aaron Rodgers. So,
that's what they said.
Yeah, whatever you think Clay Matthews is farming, might be hair. We don't know. Fish oil that you take that strengthens your hair follicles or something. Wow. I'm not sure. Shout out to Clay Matthews for farming.
That guy is not striking as a farmer. Wow.
Yeah,
Rodgers said he's farming like Jordy.
Yeah. Wow. So whatever the case is, shout out to Clay Matthews for being, picking up his true Midwestern fashion, being a farmer. Anyways, so I think actually honorable mention Devondre Campbell. Didn't know much about the guy before the season started. Apparently, everybody loves him in Green Bay. I haven't personally paid a ton of attention to him, to be honest. But from the reports that I've read and things that I've heard, listened to, watched, he's really killing out there. So that's another honorable mention, I guess. But the first one, it's going to be Eric Stokes for me. He had a decent game from what I saw. There was that one pass that he gave up that Oren Burks actually ran into him or ran in front of him, and he wasn't necessarily able to break up the ball because Oren Burks was literally standing directly in front of him. I think that was in the first half of the preseason game.
Yep, it was like 4 yards.
Yeah, to me, if the Packers secondary, I think Tyler, you can already hit on this. If the Packers secondary can really lock things down, keep everything in front of them, we don't need another Scotty Miller situation. That is going to be positive development, and I really think the Packers are going to look for Eric Stokes to – I really do think he's going to be an upgrade over Kevin King. I think, Kevin can still play, but he's injured or something. And so we'll see what happens. But if the Packers can lock things down, keep everything in front of them, I think that's what Joe Barry should do. And obviously the Packers will be a shutdown defense for sure, at least the long ball.
Well, the thing with Kevin King is we do get a rematch with San Francisco in week 3. So if Kevin King's getting picked on with George Kittle again, maybe we see Eric Stokes starting in week 4.
Yeah.
If you're San Francisco and you see Kevin King on George Kittle and you do not run a crossing route, you got issues. Because he ran one route that entire goddamn game. And he went from this side to this side. And Kevin King was just like, I don't understand what's going on right now. Oh, my God. I was so mad at him that day, dude.
All right, so we got one more question about the Packers here. Is what do you guys think about Kingsley Keke? Me personally, I thought he filled in for Kenny Clark pretty well last year when Kenny was injured. So for me, he's already on the team, and he's probably going to be the primary backup to basically all 3 defensive line positions. But what do you guys think about Kingsley Keke?
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, during today's practice with the Jets, during practice, if there was live tackling, Kingsley Keke actually would have sacked Zach Wilson twice. So those were some reports coming out of practice today. They were doing live reps except for hitting the quarterbacks, obviously. So that was a report. I did not report that, but that was something I saw on social media today about Kingsley Keke. Again, good depth rotation player. I do think TJ Slaton will probably be the better nose tackle than Keke just because of size. But so far, so good. Definitely what Tyler said, too. He's on the team.
What I think about Keke is that he is our second best defensive lineman on our team. I would probably have Lowry third and then probably Slaton or Lancaster at 4th. But Keke showed a lot of upside last year. He's a guy that can, collapse the pocket. He can get in there quickly. He can tackle the running back, get after the quarterback. So I like what I see out of Keke, man. He's been a pretty good surprise, to be honest with you. Yeah,
I agree with Josh, too, that he's Slaton probably serves as a better backup nose tackle just because of his size. But, like I said, Keke, I think he filled in admirably when Kenny Clark was hurt last year.
So
all right,
I got a question.
You guys – okay, go ahead, Jake.
So you guys remember the NASCAR package, obviously, right? Back in the day.
Oh, yeah. With Julius Peppers.
Them.
Yeah,
we have a lot of pass rushers now, man. You guys think we should bring that back? That's I've heard rumors about that too. We could put Gary, we could put Kenny out there with the Smith brothers. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And if a Vernon Scott, a guy like that can show ability to cover deep, we could even bring a Adrian Amos on a blitz with them. And he's a big dude. He is humongous in real life, by the way. Up close, his legs are enormous. So we could bring a guy
Adrian Amos. Yeah, Adrian Amos is the Quad Father Jr.
Yeah, he is. He's huge. So what do you guys think about that? Can we bring that package back?
Bring back the Psycho package.
Yeah.
So in terms of the NASCAR package, the Packers simply just couldn't run it the last couple of years because in order to run the NASCAR package, you have to be able to defend the pass so you can blitz a lot and rotate a lot, and the Packers could not do that. Obviously, they had some issues defending the pass last year. So I think if they have the ability to, sure, you know what, send those guys, rotate them. But otherwise, I don't know. Well, I'm just a little skeptical of Joe Barry's defense, obviously, so far. We'll see what happens.
I'll tell you what. That guy is fired the hell up, man. If you don't like your kids swearing, I'm going to tell you right now, the first words I heard that man say at practice was, you got 2.5 fucking minutes. Let's get your asses over there. And I was like, oh, wow. This guy is ready to go. We are not fucking around. Today is not fucking around time. That guy is ready to go. And that's what I want out of my defensive coordinator. You have to be intense. You have to be fierce. And you really just have to want to rip people's faces off. When it comes down to it. And he seems like a kind of guy that can lead a pack of wolves. I'm not trying to lead dogs no more. I'm trying to lead a pack of wolves, okay? They're hungry. Let's go rip someone's face off. Especially those damn Bears fans, man. What the hell's going on with them this year, dog? They draft one quarterback and they're ready to we're Super Bowl. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Bears fans, dude. They're getting to me this year.
I don't know. I don't know what it is with Bears fans. I mean, the fact that they can, say that we're going to the Super Bowl based on Justin Fields' one preseason game, but then also say that Jordan Love looked crappy in his when they had pretty similar, honestly, per preseason debuts. I mean, I don't know. It's so early, both of them. They've both played one preseason game. I'm not really reading into either one of them a whole lot.
I mean, you see what Dalton said today?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it's my time.
My time.
We'll have to find out if Nagy agrees with that, man. You think they're going to throw Fields in right away?
Well, the first time we talked about it, I said no. I do think he'll be starting at some point during the season, but I don't think week 1 Justin Fields will start.
No.
I don't know. Yeah, starting a quarterback, like a rookie quarterback especially, it's kind of like a play-by-play situation. I don't think there's any right way to do it. We got lucky with Aaron Rodgers, sitting 3 years and coming in and turning into what he turned into. So we could say we know the formula, right? But there's been guys that have started, their first season, Peyton Manning, and set the interception record, and then they go on to make the Hall of Fame. Or the Tom Brady way. I think if you're the guy, you're the guy. At the end of the day, no matter what week you start. If I'm Chicago, I'm going to be completely honest. I absolutely hate all of Chicago sports. But I'm going to be, right in the middle right now. If I'm Chicago and we have a fan base that is desperate for quarterback play, I am putting Fields in week 1. Because you want to put that injection of excitement into your team, into your fan base. And if I'm them, I'm putting Fields in right away. Game 1, I know it's the Rams, and that is a hell of a defense to go up against week 1, but he's going to have to face them at some point, right? He's going to have to face top 5, top 10 defenses at some point. So if I was them, I'd put in Fields.
The one thing I still don't understand about the Bears franchise is you paid a ton of money for Nick Foles. You obviously brought in Andy Dalton, and then you draft Justin Fields. I mean, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are so quarterback insecure that they made all these transactions, tossed all this money at the wall, and all of a sudden they're sitting with a guy who's went to the Super Bowl. They're sitting with Andy Dalton, who actually kicked some major butt in Cincinnati in the regular season. And then you take a rookie, like very promising quarterback, and I get it, but
trade it up.
Right, exactly. What are you doing here? Who's going to be your starter? Clearly, there's going to be at least 2 extremely unhappy quarterbacks down in Chicago. I mean, what if you start with Justin Fields and he's terrible? You throw in Andy Dalton, he's terrible. You throw in Nick Foles, he's terrible. And all of a sudden, you have this quarterback conundrum where you're trying to figure out, what do I do here? I think Nick Foles wants out, and Andy Dalton is going to be offended if he's not the starter. So. And the fan base wants Justin Fields. So it's going to be juicy to watch for the first at least 3 months. 3 weeks.
I don't care if Andy Dalton's offended. I'm offended I had to watch him play football last year. That's how bad he was for the Cowboys.
Outside of Allen Robinson, like that offense is very shaky outside of Allen Robinson.
I mean, Montgomery's been pretty good. He's been good in spots. But that offensive line is still nothing. And they really don't know who they have at tight end. Mooney's been pretty good. He's pretty solid. I'm not going to lie to you there. Like I said, I hate Chicago, but I'm trying to stay in the middle as much as I can. Allen Robinson, Mooney, a little upside. They really don't have much. I mean, they just brought in Speedster. Who am I thinking of? USA Sprinter.
Marquise Goodwin.
That guy. They just brought him in, so they had a little bit more speed. I don't know.
They do have Cole Kmet at tight end. Looks like he's got some potential, but until he does something with it, I'm not really worried about it.
You know how many potential tight ends we have in the freaking NFL right now, dude? Evan Ingram was supposed to be the greatest tight end of all time coming out of college because he was so fast. Well, what is he doing now? Right. He's dropping half of his footballs and getting voted into the Pro Bowl.
OJ Howard was very similar, and now he got beat out by old Gronkowski and Cameron Brate for playing time.
Todd, I don't even want to hear it. Todd is one of my dad's good friends. He's a Bears fan. He's a great guy. Outside of being a Bears fan, Todd, it's going on this year, man. I'm ready for it. It feels like the rivalry's back. I don't even care about the Vikings. The Vikings fans are just dodo brains to me now. The Bears fans have a little education. They still don't have a foot to stand on, but I'm ready for football, man. I'm so ready for football.
Say, Josh has to live in Minnesota, so that's really rough.
I do.
God, how do you keep your IQ up? I don't understand.
Honestly, like the vibe I always get my entire life from Vikings fans, and I think Bears fans are actually more delusional. I know a lot of people say Vikings fans are more delusional.
Really?
Well, this is the way it goes for Vikings fans. All right, we're going to be really good this year. We have a really good defense. Captain Kirk is going to be good this year, and the Packers are on the decline. It's just like it's a rinse and repeat cycle. It's constant, and everybody's like, "Oh, Green Bay sucks. Lambeau sucks." Fun fact: U.S. Bank Stadium kills 20 birds a year on average because it is made of glass. There have been environmental groups that have sued U.S. Bank Stadium for just killing birds running into it. The Vikings have had to make adjustments there. That's just me poking fun at the big old glass playhouse down there in Minneapolis. But in all seriousness, the Vikings do have a good defense this year, and Vikings fans are always so hopeful, but they just know. They secretly know that their team is going to find a way to mess it up. I think the Vikings, they could be good this year. They could be fighting for a wild card spot for sure. But I really think the Bears are going to be fighting for third place in the NFC North. I don't think that's a question.
See, my favorite part about talking football is that Vikings and Bears fans don't understand that there's levels to this shit, man. There's literally levels to this shit. And we're up here. We're doing our thing. We're fighting with the big dogs. The Vikings and Bears, they're down here. They're fighting with all the other mediocre teams who can pretend to contend. And they just never have enough to get over the top. Either the Vikings have an offense that's just unstoppable and their defense is just butt, or their defense can just stop everybody and their offense is butt. They never put 2 and 2 together. They never do. That's classic Minnesota. And the Bears, they just never get a quarterback. So until they get a quarterback, which Justin Fields is trying to break 2 curses in one, holy crap, I pray for that guy. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. And Todd, by the way, Jordan Love looked pretty damn good, man. I mean, we have an offense that runs the ball control. If we can get, a two-headed monster that can just run the ball and have Jordan Love throw 20 passes a game and he throws 3 touchdowns a game, we're pretty damn good. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, levels to this shit, man. They just don't understand.
All right. So before we say goodbye to Josh and bring in Curtis, I do want to say we are getting a Wisco Fanatics Fantasy Football League up and going, and Josh was part of that. Tim, I see him in the comments saying that he's going to draft Tariq Cohen, and I fully invite you to do so. Take him with your first-round pick and have fun with that. But we are going to designate the January Parker Johns gift certificate to the first place winner of the first Wisco Fanatics Fantasy Football League. So we are excited for that. So I want to thank everybody who's going to participate in that, because that should be a lot of fun. And the last place in the Fantasy Football League will take a pie to the face. So that's going to add some interesting stakes to the Wisco Fanatics Fantasy Football League. Do you guys have anything else Packer related before we say goodbye to Josh and bring in Curtis?
I really just want to talk shit to Bears fans the rest of the show.
Well, one final thought here I will say is I just hope the Tim Boyle laser show shows up in Detroit and Tim Boyle steals that starting spot from Jared Goff. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It'd be super hilarious on many different levels. He changed his number to 12. He's growing out the hair. I love me some Tim Boyle, so that's definitely something to look for.
That's awesome. I hope that happens too. That'd be hilarious.
It would be.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing we can take away from dealing with Vikings and Bears fans is that the Lions are still in the basement.
Yes.
The Lions are building an offensive line, though, so that could be something that could be scary in a few years. But we'll get there in 4 years when they're rebuilding their team again.
All right, Josh. Well,
I should say thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. We'll be definitely welcoming you back anytime we're talking about the Packers. So probably be talking soon, but we are going to say goodbye to Josh. Josh, take care. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Later, buddy.
See ya.
All right. So, Jake, I just want to throw this out there because, we talk about how cool it is seeing where we get interactions from, and just had a comment from Gabe Aldrich saying greetings from Manila in the Philippines. So that is a new one for us. That is very cool. So thanks for checking out the show, Gabe.
Hey, gang. What's going on, brother, man?
What's up, boys? How are you guys?
What's up, Curtis? So we are going to move into talking with Curtis about some combat sports, MMA, and boxing. Just going to throw it out there. I think the biggest thing we have to talk about today is one of the Paul brothers fighting. That's this weekend, isn't it?
2 Sundays. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday.
Okay,
the 29th. Yep. 2 Sundays away.
Gotcha.
That'll take place in Cleveland, Ohio on Showtime. So yeah, that'll be a good one, man. We've all been anticipating that fight. So bear with me, guys. The voice is still a little rough from the weekend back in Wisconsin. So Keel gets the best of me every year, but I love seeing you guys. Great seeing you. You guys are all wild there. So usually takes me about a week, but can't miss the show. I had to jump on and talk some MMA with you guys, and it's always great to see you. But yeah, rough on the voice here, so it's gonna be a little slow.
All right. I see you rocking the Packers shirt. Before we start with the updates, why don't we get a Packers prediction from Curtis here?
Packers prediction just for the year there?
Yeah,
just get a record prediction.
Thinking either 13-4 or 14-3. I usually like to see us at about the 13 win mark. It seems to be our best bet. From me, I'm not on your guys' level, but I'm a huge Packer fan. I see us when we get that first round bye, it sometimes is tough for us to take that time off. When we just keep it rolling, that's when I think we're personally at our best. So I like not getting that first round bye, to be honest with you. Keep it rolling, about a 13-14 win season. I think we'll be doing pretty damn good. So I'm excited, just like you guys, man. I deal with Vikings fans here more than Bears fans, and God dang, just cut me a break, man. My barber, I'm like, dude, just cut my hair, bro. Just like Josh was saying, always talking about the defense and all this, but it's all good. It's all good and fun. So yeah, that's where I see us, and I think we got a great shot this year, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Go Pack, go.
That's it, baby. That's it. Regardless how we do, it's always go Pack, go.
So I was doing some research today, bud.
Oh, God. Oh, shit.
I don't know shit about UFC.
There's a lot, man. There's a lot.
There is a whole bunch of stuff they're throwing out there, and I'm like, I don't know what this means.
I could talk for hours, man.
So they were showing stance on the guys, right? For the main guys on the card. What is a switch stance?
Switch stance. Okay, yeah. So mostly you'll see like a traditional stance when your right hand's your power hand, your right leg will be back, right? So you'll have your left leg forward, your right hand back, so it keeps that power there, keeps it loaded up. So when you switch stance, you're going to put that left hand on the backside. So it's just called southpaw. Really, it's a switch stance. It's called southpaw. So a lot of fighters, you'll see some of the smaller guys that will really switch that stance up regardless of what their power is, because they like to move. TJ Dillashaw will change his levels, and he's almost like he's walking at you. So he's going from traditional to southpaw, traditional southpaw. That way he can step and throw a right hand, and then that left kick is now loaded up on the back end to come up over the top where you don't see it and smacks inside the head. So yeah, switch stance is fun. I love the switch kick. I have that. I'm a power in my right hand, so I'm a traditional style, but I love to switch my feet and throw that kick because that really turns the hips and that power snaps through. So yeah, Conor McGregor, he's a southpaw. He's got that power in that left hand. But yeah, that's all that is, man. But a lot of guys anymore will just switch as they go. As you circle out of the octagon, they'll switch their stance right away and land a different, left hand instead of their power hand as a right hand. So yeah, switch stance, man. A lot of people, it's just the sport's evolving. I mean, as all these new kickboxing styles come in and they keep evolving, a lot of people, you have to start switching stances and be able to perform from both sides. If you want to be at the top of the level and what it takes, that work and the effort it takes, you got to be able to switch those stances and throw different shots from different angles. So that's why like Israel Adesanya is so good. He can throw the same punch with the same hand as he can kick with. So when he throws a right hand, that right foot comes up over the top. You do not even see it coming. It's super scary. So the more you can start switching stances, the most likely maybe the better off you will be. But you got to be careful regardless. But yeah, that's all that means, man. You're just switching your feet. That's it. Gives you different reads, different switches.
What is an ortho stance?
That's the orthodox. That's going to be your power hand. That's going to be the traditional boxing stance with your right hand back, left foot forward. Yeah, they got a couple different names for it, but yeah, that's your orthodox stance, and then your southpaw is going to switch.
I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, man. No, it's definitely confusing. It takes a long time to learn this stuff, and as the sport evolves, just like any sport, man, you got to keep up on it. Otherwise, you'll fall behind. But that's all that is.
That's what we got you here for, Curtis.
That's what I'm here for. That's it. What else did you find, Jock?
So I got a question here. I was thinking about it. I was like reading, and I'm looking at all these guys' heights and their reaches, and like it's giving all the information, right? So in your opinion, what is the hardest weight class to fight at? What is the most stacked weight class? See, I thought that was a great question because I'm like, man, all these guys, like this guy has like 20 wins. This guy's like 16-11, right? But what if this guy 16-11 is just up and coming and he took like some hard fights, when he first came in, and maybe that's why he took a couple L's, So I'm wondering.
100%. Yeah, I mean, styles make matchups. You can see guys that are, 500 fighters that are 10-10 that just had bad matchups or they're at a wrong weight class. And the best example is Connor. Connor started at 145 pounds and was starching people because he had that power. He went up to 155. He's only had one win at 155 and I think 3 or 4 losses. Went up to 170. He's 1-1 with Nate Diaz. So to be honest with you, the most stacked division, it really goes by promotion. You really have UFC, Bellator, and One Championship are going to be your top level promotions. But I would say right now, probably the most stacked is 155. 155 pounds is because you get a lot of guys, because you can go 135, 145, 155. So you get a lot of guys that can make that jump up to 55 and come back down to 45. Where if you go from 55, it's up to 70. If 15 pounds is a lot, it's a big difference. And then from 70, it's to 85. 85, it's to 205. So it's really, really hard. You've seen Israel Adesanya. He's the champion at 185, one of the greatest ever, honestly, in my opinion. Try to go up from 185 to 205. He just wasn't big enough, man. The size just, Jan Blachowicz just outsized him. He's too strong, held him down. But yeah, right now I would say it's 145 and 155. I would say you're starting to see the heavyweights start to evolve. That one's been kind of on the thinner side in the past, but that one's starting to really get stacked up. But across Bellator, UFC, and One Championship, I see 155 and 145 is where it's at, because it goes all the way down to 125 pounds for guys, and it's really, really hard to find a lot of those 125-pound guys. And when you switch into the women's division, you're going to see the stacked divisions being mostly like 135, because it's hard to find a girl at 155. There are really dominant girls at 155, but there's just not many girls that are that big to make that competitive and keep that around. Is very, very hard. So like that division's been talked about being cut. 125 for the men's talked about being cut. Now that they got the first Mexican-born champion, Brandon Moreno there, it's bringing a lot of excitement to that division. But if they cut that, those guys got to go up and weight, and it's super, super tough. 10 pounds makes a huge difference in the sport. Just because a guy's fighting at 170 pounds, you look at that guy and you're like, there's no way in hell that dude's 170 pounds. But he's not. He gets down to there for about 15 minutes and he water loads back up. He eats, some good carbs. And then before he even fights, he's back up to 190, 195 pounds. You guys know Jamie's a great example. He cuts all the way down to 155, but he's usually around 170 before he even steps into that octagon. And he doesn't have an ounce of fat on him. So yeah, the hardest divisions are usually those ones that guys can go back and forth at. 145, 155, I think are the best divisions right now. Most stacked.
So they lie to us about their weight, huh?
They lie, bro. It's all, and there's been talks about switching that up, man, because it's super unhealthy. You're going from 195 down to 170. You'd rather, there's talks of rather seeing weight classes closer to your natural weight, right? So if you weigh 195 and you're cutting to 170, why don't we make a 190 division, or every 5 pounds make a division? You'll have more title fights, more pay-per-views, more excitement around these guys because people love a title, man. People love a title.
You know what that means?
What does that mean?
More money.
More money, man.
Exactly what it's all about, baby.
That's exactly right, man.
Green, dog.
That's all it is, man. That's all it is. And there's a lot of talks right now. We're going to talk about Jake Paul, and there's some good and some bad out there that people think about him. But at the end of the day, he talks about fighter pay more than anybody in the world of MMA, as long as MMA has been around, more than anybody in the world of boxing's ever fought for it. He talks about it and fights for fighter pay more than anybody I have ever seen. If anybody can comment on here and name one, be my guest. There's no way possible. Jake Paul really, because I guess from your perspective, what do you think like an NFL team or an NBA team or an MLB team, if they're making, X amount of profit each year, how much do you think a percentage of that profit is going back to the players? Do you guys know? Is it 50%? Are we looking at 40%? Are we talking 30%?
It might be low. It's probably
could
small.
be low.
Yeah,
it definitely varies by sport. NFL is definitely the highest because they have the most TV deals because they have fewer games, so they're all televised, nationally. So the NFL is definitely the most prolific of them all. But even at that, when you talk about like a stadium like Lambeau Field that holds 80,000 people per game, that's honestly it's probably crazy, and I would say it's probably in that like 20% range.
20% range, right? So yeah, that's the problem. The UFC right now is at about an 18 to 20% rate. There's fighters, it goes with every sport, but there's fighters that have been doing this their whole life, and they finally get to the big show, and they're getting 20 and 20, $20,000 to show up, $20,000 to win. But after you pay for your full camp of 8 to 12 weeks, maybe you pay your manager a 10% fee, you pay all three of your coaches, you got to bring your coaches out, and then taxes, because, you're an independent contractor. That 40,000 becomes a good 15,000 real quick. And then what happens if, you have you're promised 3 fights in a year, but what happens is you go through a whole fight camp of 8 to 12 weeks, and boom, your opponent pulls out, or you get a big gash on your eye and you have to get stitches and you got to wait 6 months. Now you put all that money into the camp, the nutrition, your managers, your coaches. You still got to pay those guys. So it's super, super tough. So it is all about the money. And even the guys that bring the most money, Conor McGregor type guys, Israel Adesanya, John Jones, it's all about putting asses in the seats, right? But even those guys aren't even paid fairly, honestly, for what they bring to the sport. So, it's interesting, man. That's why the MMA game is so hard. One of the greatest of all time is George St. Pierre from Canada. He was probably when we were in middle school, getting into high school, he was at his prime. He's always says he had guys back in the day that would come up to him asking him for tips and pointers, and he said, honestly, what I want to tell him, I think he said it on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's like, I want to tell him, like, just put down the gloves, man. I've seen this story written 100 million times. I've seen it. People put in 10, 15 years and they make no money. And what's worse than you guys got kids looking your kid in the face saying, man, I can't get you this for Christmas, or you can't have that. Nothing tears you apart more than that. So, it's a tough one, man. Fighter pay is a big one. It's all about putting asses in the seats. But, you're going to see an Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes probably making a good chunk of money over anybody else on the team. But that offensive tackle is still getting paid, a shit ton of money to protect those assets. And fill in with the fighters, these guys got to fill the cards. They got to put on a show for somebody, just for Conor to go out, or Israel, or John Jones, or Brandon Moreno, or any of those guys to make the big money. It's got to be fair. You got to spread it out. It's all about the money, man. But it's some stuff that's not been seen, it's not been talked about. So I'll give Jake Paul a lot of props on bringing that up. So. Even this boxing event on Showtime, August 29th in Cleveland, he's going to. So Showtime Boxing is ran by Espinoza. That's the guy's name, Espinoza. And I guess he went to Espinoza, and Jake Paul's like, hey, what is everybody underneath me on this card being paid? And he's making sure they are being paid exactly what they deserve to be paid. So it's great, man. Nobody's ever done that. And to see him do that is I think it's fucking awesome, man. So I want everybody to get paid, man. I want you guys to blow up. You guys are great, man. So yeah, it's good to see it, man. It is awesome. Somebody that actually gives a shit, because if nobody says anything, nobody gives a shit, and you just go on your life not making any money, man. So
yeah, Jake with the questions today. Jake, you got any more questions yet?
I wanted Curtis to really get into this Jake Paul fight. I want you to give your real details on what you think's going to happen, who's going to win.
Give my details. This is well, I can tell you for the first time, Jake is 3-0. I think his first fight was against somebody I don't think anybody's heard of. It was some like English guy or something like that. But the real first one we seen was Nate Robinson. Okay,
Yep.
He's a retired basketball player, winning dunk contests and stuff like that. Never boxed a day in his life. That doesn't show you a goddamn thing. You go to Ben Askren. You're kind of like, okay, we got a legend of the sport, a Hall of Famer here. The guy that's been in the deep waters. We're like, okay, maybe this will show us something. Ben Askren showed up for a paycheck, right? He got starched right away. He was way overweight, not even in shape. So with this fight coming up in August 29th, I think this is going to show you exactly who Jake Paul is. Now his opponent, you called out a dog, man. This is a dog. Tyron Woodley is a dog. One thing about Tyron is when he signs up for something, he goes all the way on it, man. He's not going to show up like Ben did for a paycheck. He does not get embarrassed. He hates to lose. Out of any person I've seriously seen in mixed martial arts, he hates to lose more than anybody. Like, you can see it in his face, how much it tears him down. It tears them all down. But this fight, I don't know what the odds are. I don't look at the odds a whole lot. I'm going to assume the odds are in Tyron Woodley's favor. Just because of he's a UFC Hall of Famer. He's a 5-time world champion. He's been boxing for 20 years. Jake Paul's 24, Tyron's 39. There's a little bit of that gives you a little bit of a chance there in that window. I think if Jake Paul wins this, though, it's going to be, I think it's an 8-round fight. I think if Jake wins, it's going to be in those earlier rounds. When he's fully energized, he's young, he's going to go hard at him. That's his best chance. I would say if you're going to bet, anybody watching on this, you're going to bet on Jake Paul to win, you do 3 rounds and under. If you're going to bet on Tyron Woodley, you go 4th to the 8th round, somewhere in there. Because Tyron's a dog, man. He's been there. He's been in deep waters. He's not going to back away. So I think as it goes on, the experience is going to pay off more in Tyron's favor, where he can pick him apart. Now, Jake Paul, been boxing 4 years. Technique-wise, what I see from footage, he's not as technically as sound as Tyron Woodley. He's a little bit looser with the hands. He leaves more gaps around here. He's dropping the hands a little bit more, where Tyron's just straight up. Every shot he throws comes back to his face. His hands never leave his face. But I would it's a tough one, but I'm going to go Tyron Woodley, but I think it's going to be a good fight. You know what? Jake Paul's got a hit list. He calls it a hit list. He's got Canelo on it, the greatest boxer of all time. Why don't we pump the brakes real quick on calling out Canelo, calling out Nick and Nate Diaz, the Diaz brothers, calling out Conor McGregor. Honestly, I think he could probably beat Conor McGregor in a boxing match. I'm going to say that right now. I think he honestly could. He's way bigger. He's way younger. He's hungry. And the thing about combat sports in general, you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You cannot do that. And you've seen that with Conor in the last couple of years. He's lost, 4 fights, 3 fights in a row, whatever it's been. Because he's been 1 foot in, 1 foot out, man. He's got companies going on outside of this. He's making deals. I guess he's got a TV deal that's going. We'll see how that goes since he keeps losing. So, yeah, I see Jake and Tyron both got their feet in on this, so you better buckle in. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think Tyron should win. But don't be surprised if Jake Paul, comes out and shocks the world. So
the comparison that you're making with Conor McGregor about kind of, doing stuff outside of UFC kind of makes me think about Ronda Rousey actually in a similar way. She started doing a lot of acting. And She was in one of the Fast and the Furious movies. She was in a movie, Mile 22, with Mark Wahlberg, and then she started losing some fights. So, I mean, you can kind of see similar things from Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey, in that aspect.
100%. Get your bag. Get your bag, man. I mean, get your money. Khabib is maybe one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. And he's recently came out on like the Mike Tyson podcast saying, I don't think anybody at 155 pounds in this world can beat Khabib. I really do not think so. His confidence is next level. His Dagestani wrestling is next level. But he even mentioned I don't want to do this no more because I don't want to sacrifice what it takes to stay at the highest level of this sport. And that's what you see with Connor. That's what you're seeing with some of the Ronda Rouseys. They don't want to sacrifice because they don't have to anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And it's great because it's just like any NBA player, Delonte West, and some of these guys where you see after their career, they don't know what to do with themselves. So
Latrell Sprewell is similar.
There's tons of those guys. So you want to start building something outside of it. So when it's done, you either become a commentator, you become an analyst, you open a business, or you start podcasting, or you start you're working for these big companies that do these shows. But yeah, I just with Connor and Ronda, it was you got stuff going on outside. You got one foot in the ring, you got one out. You can't do that to stay at the highest level. Dustin Poirier would beat Conor McGregor 100 times out of 100 times. Promise you that, 100%. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. The Jake Paul, man, dude, he's good. He's tall. I think he's bigger. I don't know weight-wise if he's much bigger. He's much taller. He's got a lot more length, so Tyron's going to have to get – like we talked about Logan and Floyd. When I said Floyd had to lunge in to get inside of that length, to then land those shots. Otherwise, every time he sits on the outside, he's going to get popped by long shots. Shicker, you're how much taller than me, man? If I stayed on the outside, there's no way. I can't kick you. I can't reach you. And you're just going to pop me in the face a million times until I go down, right? I would have to get on the inside of you and work your body, work up, work around. So that's an interesting thing as well that, that with the Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley fight, he's a lot taller. Tyron's got, I think, a lot more skill. He's still got the speed. He's still got the power. There is a 15 age gap there. But I would say if you're going to take the bet, if you're going to bet Jake Paul, bet him in the earlier rounds. If you're going to go with Woodley, I'd go in the later rounds on that one. But I'm still going Tyron, and it's not because I don't like Jake. I'm not that guy. I think he's done a lot of great things. And like he said, the YouTube world was over for him, and he needed to find something else outside of YouTube and Disney and all that crap. And so he found boxing, and I think he's fully committed, man, and he's put a lot in this training. Like I said, technique-wise, not quite as good as Tyron, but we'll see, man. I would not be surprised, and if he does start Tyron Woodley, look out. We're going to see some big fights, but I'm going to put my money on Tyron, and but I think it'll be a good fight, no doubt, good fight, because Tyron's lost his last 3 fights in the UFC. Contract ended. He was looking for something else, so it's interesting to paint that narrative of, what's going on in both of their lives and what led them to this and how hungry they really are. But I think they're both feet in, and we're looking for a good fight, man. This is actually one I would pay for, and I probably will pay for. So, no doubt.
I mean,
all right.
You got the spectrum here real quick. Either Jake Paul gets punched in the face, and we all enjoy that, or he wins, and then we just get to watch him fight and talk a bunch of shit. So we win either way, America.
We win either way, man. Jake Paul's like the Floyd. We've all said it on this show before. People pay to see you win. People pay to see you get your ass whooped, man. And unfortunately, probably more people are going to pay to watch Jake get his ass whooped. And I guarantee he feeds off of that, man. I guarantee he's going to feed off of that and say, watch, let me show you, And I think he said that before, like, not like watch, no, let me show you. Like, let me show you, you think this and that. So we'll see, guys. That's a tough one, man. But after this fight, we'll tell you everything you need to know about Jake Paul, and it will tell you what's going to happen next. I kind of want him to win because I want to see him go against Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz, a Canelo type fight. But with Jake, I think he's taking it more serious rather than Logan, like we've talked about before. He wants a longevity in the sport. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on, man. We just got to tune in, and then this is all this is guesswork, but Tyron should have the upper hand, technique, power, experience, but Jake's hungry. He's young. He's been doing it for 4.5 years or something like that now. So it's a perfect world, man. And it's happening. So I'm excited that it's at least somebody that I know and I have seen knock people out. So let's see, baby. Let's go.
All right. So no pressure, Curtis, but Lily says hi.
Oh, hey, Lily. She still got that hammer or what?
Yes, we do still have all the blow-up hammers from this weekend.
Got my ass whooped. I'm just like, oh, what's up? What's up, Corny? Whash. Like, Jesus. That was good. That was fun. Hey, Jake, tell Aiden I said what's up, and give Winter some kisses, man. We miss that little girl, man. She's so cute. So It was a good time to finally meet all of your guys' family. But
yeah, man.
Yeah, tell Courtney I said hi. Tell Cece I said hi.
Hopefully, man.
What'd you say?
I said next time you see her, hopefully she'll be walking around with a little
Walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Running this house, I'll tell you that much. Running this goddamn house.
She's got you around her finger, bro.
She got everybody in this house around her finger. Ain't just me, but
ain't just you, man. Hell no, it ain't just you. No, she's gorgeous, man. She's awesome. What else? You guys want me to jump into some other stuff? Or
I was going to say, you got anything else before we talk about the Brewers? You got any other fights to watch out for before we talk to you again in September?
Yeah, I'll cover a few things real quick. Upcoming this weekend is Jared Cannonier versus Kelvin Gastelum. Cannonier used to fight at, Jake, you like this one? He used to fight at light heavyweight, 205, jump down to 185. I think Cannonier was on a losing streak until dropping down to 185, and now he's strung like 3 or 4 fights together in a row. His last loss was to Robert Whitaker. Kelvin Gastelum's last loss was to Robert Whitaker. Kelvin Gastelum won the Ultimate Fighter. He's been fighting for the title multiple times, so they're both knockout artists. And then the week after that, the same weekend as the Paul and Woodley fight, that Saturday is the Giga fight versus Edson Barboza. Giga is a really hard last name, Chikaze, I think it is. They are both multi-world champion kickboxers. They're fighting at 145 pounds. I think Giga's 38-6, 22 knockouts, 2 world titles. I think Edson was 28-4. 22 knockouts, multiple world titles. So both of these fights take place at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. UFC Apex was built basically for the Ultimate Fighter and Dana White's Contender Series. So guys like my boy Jamie, guys that you see in Milwaukee at Rufasport that want a chance at the UFC, Dana does bring them on the show, and that's what they built it for, to have a fight and see if they can win a contract. Thing about that arena, the cage is a lot smaller. So when you get those guys at 185 pounds that are knockout artists, it's like if you trap me in a room with you, Jake, in a 10x10 room. That's not good for me. But if you put us in a football field, that's good for me, right? I have more room to use my footwork. So you're going to see 2 of the best kickers next weekend. Edson Barboza and Giga are the best kickers in the world right now. So that's something great to watch out for. And then heavyweight division, Cyril Gane won the interim light heavyweight heavyweight championship over Derek Lewis. Some of the best footwork I've ever seen out of a big guy. He's about 245 pounds, and he moves better than anybody I've ever seen. Honestly, he's got the best footwork. So he used to train with Francis Ngannou. That looks like that's the next matchup. Seen some footage. They both went back and forth. Don't ever take footage too seriously. You never know where anybody was in their camp. You know, who's going to fight coming up was Francis in his 5th round, and they threw in a fresh Cyril Gane just to keep him, working at a pace in the 5th round. So that'll be a fight to look for. Bellator, AJ McKee, 18-0, choked out Patricio Pitbull. Pitbull's a legend of Bellator. This guy's young, AJ McKee. He's young. He's hungry. That guy's someone to look out for. They talk a lot about merging Bellator and UFC. UFC's roster is very, very deep. We got about 600 fighters. Bellator has about half of those many fighters. So I think if you take the top 5 guys in each division, you have great fights all day long. So don't think the UFC is just the best of the best. You just have the deeper roster. They got to put on more cards, more fights. And then my MVP of the weekend is Milwaukee's own. I've watched this guy fight multiple times. Rafion Stotts beat the #1 contender. He beat this guy. His name is Magomed Magomedov. He's Dagestanian, just like Habib. He comes from the same background. Rafion Stotts, All-American wrestler, put on a fucking clinic, dude. He really, I think, was the big underdog on this. He went out, put on a clinic, a 5-round clinic. The next fight for him would be his training partner and great friend, Sergio Pettis, little brother of Anthony Pettis, both from Milwaukee, Duke Rufus's gym, Rufus Sport. He kind of didn't call him out, which I get, but this is the hurt business, man. You're going to have to fight your buddy, but that's something to look forward to as well. Bellator's got great guys. Milwaukee's got a lot of great guys. Rafion Stotts, my MVP. Watch that guy live a few times. He's a stud. So appreciate it, boys.
Curtis, all right. As always, man, you fucking killed that, dude.
I got to roll. I got people like, awesome. You talk so fast. I'm like, shit, there's a lot to cover, man.
Dude, that was awesome. That was awesome. You
All right,
did
guys.
Hopefully sometime soon we'll inspire you to start your own podcast, and we'll still bring you in to give some updates for us.
Absolutely, guys. This is a great start for me. I love just helping you guys out. You know how much I love you guys and seeing you guys just do your thing, man. You guys are great at it. So I've learned a lot from you guys. I appreciate it. Josh did a great job. If you're still watching, man, killer job. Go Pack.
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, Curtis.
All right, guys.
Peace
All right.
out, bud.
Take care, bud.
All right, later.
All right. So, last thing to discuss, and it's still going to be a good discussion to get into this. Talk about the Brewers. And I'm going to go first on this just because I was very excited to watch this. The third game of the 4 against the Cubs, just basically the Corbin Burns show. And this is going to be my earmuff moment of the week, I suppose, if I'm going to have one, is Corbin Burns, during his major league record tying 10 consecutive strikeouts, had a career high 15 strikeouts and set a franchise record with 15 strikeouts and 0 walks, breaking Giovanni Gallardo's record of 14. At one point, he was starting to get close to Ben Sheets' franchise record of 18 strikeouts in a game. Talking about this with Cubs fans and baseball fans, don't give me that shit about it's all AAA hitters. Don't give me that. Don't give me that shit. If you're going to sit there and say that and bring up that, oh, it's just AAA hitters. No, they're in Major League Baseball. I get that the Cubs had a fire sale. I still don't want to hear that shit. If you're going to tell me that all those guys in AAA are just waiting for their chance, they're just waiting to get their chance in Major League Baseball, don't tell me that he's doing it against bad hitters. Patrick Wisdom's is a good hitter. He really is. As far as, don't wanting to give props to Chicago players, but Patrick Wisdom's a good hitter. They have Ian Happ. They still have good players on that team. So don't give me that, oh, he's just playing against AAA guys. It's not that impressive. Don't give me that. Get the fuck out of here with that. That being said, in this same game where Corbin Burns just absolutely dominated Chicago, the Brewers also basically ended Jake Arrieta's career in Chicago. He was released the next day and now has been picked up by the Padres, which I think is absolutely hilarious because Arrieta's not good. But I'm going to get your feelings on this 10-0 win that the Brewers had over the Cubs.
Well, first of all, since you just said the Padres, I wanted to say something I was thinking. Padres are kind of fake contenders, in my opinion. They're like good, but they're not good. With that being said, 10-0, man. Wow. 10-0 in baseball, that's tough, dude. Brewers had 16 hits in this game. Cubs had 4. There was 6 Brewers with at least 2 hits in this game. Wong, Adames, Escobar, Narvaez, who was 3
Narvaez,
for 3, and Taylor and Peterson. They all had at least 2 hits. That is incredible.
Real quick, before you keep talking, I want to give Tyrone Taylor some credit because he jumped in for Avi Garcia when he got hit by a pitch. He jumped in and got a hit in his first pinch hitting appearance for Avi Garcia in the bat that he got hit. And then he made a really nice catch in the bottom of the 5th inning. But you can continue now.
Dude, this Brewers team has depth, man. I mean, you just mentioned Tyrone Taylor. Peterson can come off and he can play multiple positions.
Jason base.
I mean, the Brewers just have everything this year, man. And it's crazy. I'm thinking about the Giants, and I keep watching the record, after they win. The freaking San Francisco Giants are just running away with everything right now. I just don't understand how they're just winning. Nobody expected them to do anything. But no, 10-0. You mentioned Burns' historic performance. I mean, 8 innings, no earned runs, 15 Ks, 10 straight strikeouts. I mean, that was amazing to watch, honestly. Corbin Burns absolutely dominated the Cubs and baseball for that.
He struck out batters with 4 different pitches.
That's just the thing about him, though. He can strike people out with 4 pitches. That's just not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah, imagine, you're looking at Corbin Burns and you hear about his fastball, his slider, and then all of a sudden he's throwing a changeup at you, and it's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so then to wrap up that series, they win 17-4. Kind of a weird pitching outing for Brandon Woodruff. He basically became like an opener in this game because his pitch count kind of got away from him with the 3 walks, only the 3 strikeouts, but 74 pitches across 3 innings. But the big lead was able to allow them to not really have to push him in this game, and you get a lot of the bullpen guys in the mix, including Justin Topa, who is back from the 60-day injured list and back from his rehab stint in Nashville. So that's just another arm added to this bullpen to add to the depth there. And I think we'll probably see less of Norris and now Curtis, who has the UCL injury. So 17-4 in the 4th game of that series. Jake, what did you see from that game?
So first of all, I like how you say 17-4 so nonchalantly. That does not happen a lot in baseball. 17-4. Oh my gosh, that's insane. In this game, the hits count, because I like to count the hits. Because earlier in the year, the Brewers were not very good at that department. They had 22-8. So for the final 2 games of the series, it was 38-12. Holy crap. On top of that, I wrote down the runs scored for each inning. They scored 5 in the 2nd, 4 in the 5th, 4 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, and then 1 in the 9th. So back-to-back innings, they scored 4, 4, and 3. That's insanity. Again, for the second straight day, 6 Brewers with at least 2 hits. Yelich, Escobar, Urias, who had 5 runs and 5 RBIs, 5 extra base hits. That's incredible.
That's a franchise record.
Yep. He had 5 RBIs. He wasn't even the leading guy in the RBIs for the team that day. Pena had 6 RBIs. Peterson was 5 for 5. And JBJ was 2 for 5. The Brewers put on an absolute show offensively that day. It didn't matter who was going to pitch. I mean, I'm honestly surprised that Suter didn't get a win in that game, because he didn't get a win like at least twice a week. But, I mean, the Brewers, the last 2 games of that Cup Series were fantastic. They look like the best team in baseball the last 2 days.
Yeah, and so I put this on the page that Luis Urias, 5 RBI, 5 runs scored, was the first in franchise history to do that. He also tied a Major League Baseball record with 5 extra base hits. And the first thing that people comment is he had 2 errors. Like really? Like he's just he's become such a polarizing player that even when they have like historical franchise, all-time games, that people still find a way to talk shit.
Is he the new Chris Middleton?
He might be the new Chris Middleton. He might be. If people don't stop complaining about fucking Christian Yelich every other day too, he might, Luis Urias is next up to be the next Chris Middleton. So that being said,
people just love complaining, man.
Dude, they do. And the thing is with that is Eduardo Escobar is playing first base. He's not a grizzled first baseman. He's not, a long tenured. He's not a veteran first baseman. So, some of those throws that got away from him, other first basemen are going to make that play. Yep. The error that cost the Brewers the 1 run. So Luis Urias, responsible for 10 runs, gives 1 back, still +9 on the runs. So I don't even want to hear that. It was still an accurate throw. It was just a low throw. So, it happens. Not that big of a deal. Like I said, most first basemen that are used to playing first base, which Eduardo Escobar is not, are going to pick that. So I'll give Luis Urias a pass on that because he also scored 5 runs and drove 5 in and hit 2 monster home runs.
Right.
That game, that was Manny Piña's first career grand slam.
Pineapple power, baby.
So that, and then
I just
Hunter
love
Strickland
looking on Instagram and they go, power the pineapple. And I'm like, that means that something good happened, so I'm just going to go with it.
Yep, that's Manny Piña. Hunter Strickland, Justin Topa, Josh Hader, Miguel Sanchez, all 1 scoreless inning. Norris gave up a couple home runs. Other than that, I mean, the Brewers absolutely dominated this series, especially offensively, and then with the pitching too. Good to see the bullpen guys getting back. Hunter Strickland, Josh Hader, back from the COVID list. Eric Lauer comes back in this Pittsburgh series. It's good to see those guys back, and then Justin Topa being back from that 60-day injured list. When we traded for Willie Adames, and we're talking about losing JP Fireeisen and Drew Rasmussen, Justin Topa was one of those guys that I brought up that's going to be back in this rotation. And one guy that I really want to give a huge shout out to as we move into this Pirates series is Jake Cousins. Just came out of nowhere, and he's pitching like a stud. He hasn't given up any earned runs since he's returned, and he's pitching lights out. Like, he got into some trouble in the game yesterday, but came back and got a strikeout through a 96-mile-an-hour fastball right on the inside corner. So I want to give Jake Cousins some credit because he's pitching really well, and he's, proven to be an asset in that bullpen. So the Brewers bullpen, while it was kind of shaky while they were all out with COVID, it looks pretty good. And when we get into this Cardinals series, I'm going to bring it up again. So let's start with game one. The Brewers lost 14-4 after another rain out. #get a roof. It's annoying, but it turns into a doubleheader again. So let's talk about game one, the suckier game of the three, but got to talk about it. So let's talk about game one.
Game one, Pirates they hit the ball, man. Name of the game. It was 19 hits to 7 hits. So the Brewers, 7 hits isn't a lot, but it's still enough to give you kind of an opportunity. But giving up 19 hits, that's tough to deal with, man. So losing 14-4, like you said, first of the doubleheader. They gave up a run in the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. That's what the Brewers gave up. 4, 2, 6, and 2. So, I was talking about the Brewers against the Cubs. When you're giving up runs back to back to back to back innings, like it's tough to come back from that. But if you're the Brewers, mentally that you have another game later that day. So whatever, you cut your losses and you move on with your life.
Yep. Yeah, Jace Peterson pitched an inning in this game.
Yeah.
The Brewers did jump out to a 3-0 lead. Colton Wong he's a badass leadoff hitter. He really is. The dude gets on base a shit ton. So that being said, let's just speed past that game. Let's go to the second game of that doubleheader. Brewers won 6-0. Aaron Ashby, he looks real good. Real good. I'm very, very excited to hopefully see we'll see what happens with the rotation next year, but I'm really hoping that Aaron Ashby can crack the rotation next year because he's got some nasty stuff.
Dude, Brewers got pitching, man. They
do. So I'm very excited for Aaron Ashby. 4 innings, 4 strikeouts, only 3 hits. Lorenzo Cain dropped in a lucky hit down the left field line, got some of the Pirates defenders tangled up with each other and dropped a hit in. Willie Adames, Avi Garcia, Omar Narvaez, Jace Peterson, all with 2 hits. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Avi Garcia has now surpassed his career high for home runs in a season with 21.
It's good for us.
That is very good for us. You were just talking about the depth with a guy like Tyrone Taylor, and getting some power out of Avi Garcia is definitely good for us. So, did you have anything else from that second game of that doubleheader?
Yeah, I just wrote down, Ashby, like you talked about. He only had 58 pitches through those 4 innings. So, that's efficient right there. Boxberger, Williams, and Strickland, they all pitched an inning. And Williams gave up 1 hit, because they only had 4 hits total. Pittsburgh did in that second game. And Boxberger, Strickland, they gave up 0 hits. Obviously, none of them had an earned run because we went 6-0. So I was just going to say that, the bullpen is back to being a strength of this team. And I really like that.
So 2 more things that I have from this game. First one, Rowdy Tellez, just an absolute monster shot. He destroyed that ball and hit it into the river. I think I saw that he was the 45th player to ever hit a home run ball into the Allegheny River. So Rowdy Tellez, just an absolute monster shot. And then So if we didn't already have some Pirates nemesis in guys like Colin Moran, but also Brian Reynolds, the dude just steals hits from the Brewers all the time. Luis Urias finally stole a hit away from him, had a diving play in between third base and shortstop and popped up and threw him out. And then the next inning, Brian Reynolds gets a ball that comes into center field and he throws Willy Adames out at the plate. Oh. So Brian Reynolds, Brewers nemesis, him and Colin Moran both should just go away and go play in the AL somewhere.
I mean, he takes a lot of L's playing against us, so whatever.
All right, so let's talk about the last game of that series. I mentioned Eric Lauer being back from the injured list. Came in, he pitched pretty well. He actually threw 6 strikeouts, which was surprising to me because I talk about him usually being a soft contact guy and getting a lot of groundouts. But 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. And some of the breaking balls that he was throwing just come in and then they just dive. And it's crazy, and it fools hitters, and it's tough to hit, tough to even see. So that's 6 strikeouts for Eric Lauer. Definitely jumped out to me. What else did you see from that third game of that series?
Well, the first thing I saw was that Brett Suter got another win. Congratulations to him. I'm going to mention it every time, bud. Hader got the save. Adames scored both of our runs. Brewers won 2-1. Another low-scoring affair. Lauer, you already mentioned him. Suter pitched 1 inning, no hits, no runs. Cousins, 1 inning, 1 hit, no runs. Boxberger, Williams, Hader, no hits, no runs. Like I said, the bullpen is back to being a strength, and I really, really like it. You know, obviously we have our big 3, and then we fill in with the other guys. So, I mean, with the pitching, man, it just gives us a chance, and I'm just loving it, man. It's the year of Milwaukee, buddy. It's the year of Milwaukee.
I'm hoping it's the year of Wisconsin and we can get a triple crown. Would be sweet.
Dude, if we get a triple crown, I might cry. I literally might cry, dude.
Before we move on to the first game of the St. Louis series, I just want to throw out Colton Wong had some crazy stops in this game that don't show up in the stat sheet or in, putouts. The first one he made was in between first base and second base. Made a diving play in the grass, popped up and made a throw. Actually, didn't even pop up. He made the throw kind of half falling down. And then a challenge was made that overturned it and was ruled a hit. And then he had a one that was right up the middle, like right over second base, and he stopped it before it got into center field. That might have been extra bases. But Colton Wong got in front of both of those balls, just showing off that he is the former Gold Glove second baseman that he is.
Dude, Colton Wong was an amazing pickup for the Brewers. He really was. He's been awesome. He hits, he plays defense, he does his job, man. And the most important thing, he's used to winning, and he brings a winning culture mentality, which is something that all teams need, not just the Brewers.
And he's doing well as a leadoff hitter for us. So.
Yes. Yeah, he had a leadoff the other day when they lost 14-4.
Yeah, he did. So one last thing that stood out to me, and it kind of sucked, but it seemed like the Brewers used up all their runs in the Chicago series. They outscored Chicago in that 4-game series by 26 runs, and then in this 3-game series, were outscored 15-14 by Pittsburgh.
I mean, 14 in the first game, but
right.
Outside of that,
right. That's why that's a prime example of why I say that run differential can be a misleading stat. Because while it does usually correlate to winning, like we talked about when we talked earlier in the season about winning 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers and losing the 4th game 15-2, or losing a game 15-4, but still winning the series. That's why I say that run differential is a misleading stat, because I would rather have the wins than the run differential personally.
So go ahead. Take your 15-4. I'll take 2-1 and 6-0. I'm good. I am good over here.
All right, so let's talk about the first game of the St. Louis series. We got another Corbin Burnes gem. Didn't go as deep as he did against the Cubs, but 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts was kind of weird. That's seems like he used up all of his strikeouts against the Cubs too. But before I let you talk, I want to say that going from Burnes to Boxberger for an inning, to Devin Williams to an inning, to Josh Hader for an inning, That right there is your playoff strategy to win.
That's tough, bro. That's tough to deal with.
That right there is how you win playoff games. You have one of your big three go for 6 innings, and then you bring in 7, 8, 9, Boxberger, Williams, Hader. You shut the door. That is how the Brewers will win playoff games. That is how they win 2-0 against a team that is still fighting for a wild card spot, but it's looking pretty dim for the Cardinals. So I will let you talk now.
Yeah, isn't it? It's pretty weird that the Cardinals are in the position they are because they win a lot of games, man. They kind of like, I'll compare them to the Steelers in football, where you're kind of used to the Steelers always like being in the conversation for playoffs, always winning their division. You know, they're always in the conversation. No, we already talked about Cousins, my man Joe. Joe said, "Don't forget about Cousins." We know Tyler did a little mention on him, but Corbin Burns, man, just another great outing. You know, honestly, we're just used to it at this point. He had a no-hitter going into the 6th in this game. Brewers had 14 hits. You mentioned the score, the runs. They didn't score a lot, but you know they're hitting the ball, they're getting on base, so that's something that I like. And I want to mention Colton Wong, 3 for 4 against his former team. So I always like seeing that. I'm a little bit of a revenge person, if I'm being honest with you. Like when I play sports video games, I love playing on the rogues. I love playing the villain. So Colton Wong doing good against the Cardinals is something that I love to see personally.
I had the Cardinals finishing second in the division. I paged back to look at my notes when we did our record predictions.
Yeah.
I had the Brewers winning 90 games. I had the Cardinals winning 88 games.
Yeah, and then we had the Reds third, Cubs.
I had the
fourth.
Reds fourth, actually. I had the Cubs third.
Oh, really? I had the Reds third, Cubs fourth, and then I had the Pirates because we all, like I said at the beginning of the year, we all knew the Pirates were going to be booty.
Yep.
They were going to be bad.
I mean, the Cubs, they had good players. They just sucked. And then, you know, when the Brewers swept them that series, when they started that third game up 7-0 in the first inning and the Brewers came back and won 15-7, then the Cubs went and lost 11 games in a row. I mean, I really believe that the Brewers ended the Cubs season with that series.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, man. After that game, they were like, all right, this isn't working. This obviously isn't the right formula. You know, they were still kind of riding the highs of 2016, man. Let's be honest. They were kind of with some of those players, and it's like, all right, it's time to move on. Let's get some prospects and let's suck for a while, and then we can have 2 guys up in Wisconsin pick on us for a couple of years, which we're okay with.
We will do that, yeah,
for free too. So, when I talked to you earlier, I wanted to mention about the fight for the first seed.
One more thing before we move on.
Okay.
And it's because being in Brewers groups, I see so much complaining. I just mentioned Luis Urias and Christian Yelich being the other guy that people complain about. Christian Yelich currently on a 6-game hitting streak, so just want to throw that out there. He had 2 hits last night, so extended his hitting streak to 6 games, so keep an eye on that tonight when the Brewers play. All right, now go ahead and give your NL playoff update.
Okay, so NL update, race for number 1 seed. Like I mentioned before, not the New York Football Giants. This is the San Francisco Baseball Giants. They are 78-42. Just crazy. I can't believe they have the best record in baseball. But, when we talked, when we played them a couple weeks ago, they just are just a team. They're the oldest team in baseball, and they're just a team full of a bunch of veterans that are just really good at baseball. They know how to hit. They know how to pitch. Like, they're put together well. The Dodgers have the second best record. They're 74-46. We all knew the Dodgers were going to be good. It is what it is. I don't want to talk about the Dodgers. I freaking hate them. The Brewers are tied with the third best record with the Rays. I only put that in there just to mention how good the Rays are, because they went to the World Series last year. So they'll probably be in.
Dude, I respect the Rays. They have a very similar makeup to the Brewers, so I respect the Rays. I don't respect the Dodgers.
No, me as well. At 73-47. So I wanted to mention this because I wanted to do the home and road splits. At home, for all the teams, it goes Giants, Dodgers, Brewers. That is the order I have them in because that's, their standings. The Giants are 42-18 at home. They absolutely kill at home. They have the most wins at home of all baseball. The Dodgers are 38-20, and the Brewers are 32-27. Like, barely above 500, which is
That's
crazy.
weird. They lose to Cincinnati at home all the time. I don't know what the deal is there.
It's crazy, man. 32-27. I'm thinking, you give me 5 more wins and 5 less losses, the Brewers have the number one record in baseball.
That's true.
If you just protect home field a little bit better. And then on the road, the Giants and Dodgers are still good road teams.
Right.
Giants 36-24, Dodgers 36-26. Those are very good records. Those are winning teams.
Yep.
You know, you're 10 games over, 12 games over 500 on the road. But the Brewers have the best road record of all team in baseball at 41-20. So, like you mentioned, which I think is 100% spot on, that pitching travels better than hitting. 100% spot on, by the way. You couple the road record with, like I said, you give me 5 more wins, play a little bit better at home, win a couple more games at home. You have yourself a recipe for a very, very dangerous team. So, really, when I was looking at this, the Giants' number 1 home record, the Brewers' number 1 road record. If we can get a San Francisco versus Milwaukee, championship series, that'll be something that'll be absolutely crazy to watch, man. Right now, actually, the Giants have three wins in a row, Dodgers have 5 wins in a row, and Brewers have 3 wins in a row. So that'll be something that'll be crazy to watch. We'll have to pay attention. The Brewers still have a 4-game series against the Giants to end this season. Yep. So they could still make some noise. The Giants and Dodgers still have a 3-game series that they play. So it'll be crazy, man. The Padres play the Giants a lot, and I just called them pretend contenders. So we will really find out a lot about the Giants towards the end of the year this year.
So to my point and to your point of reinforcing my point about pitching traveling well, the Brewers currently are on a 10-game road trip. They've played 8 of the games so far, and they're 7-1.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Burns twice now in this stretch. Freddie Peralta's pitching tonight. Aaron Ashby pitched well against the Cubs and against the Pirates, both in those rain delay games. Eric Lauer coming back from the injured list, pitching pretty decently. Woodruff, just his pitch count getting a little out of control, but I'm going to double down on it that pitching travels well. So we're going to keep an eye on Freddie Peralta tonight. And after that, the Brewers play the Nationals. Actually, we're all going to the game on Saturday. Me, Courtney, and the girls are going on Saturday. So,
nice.
So then after that, then they got Cincinnati at home again. So just mentioned it. They got to beat Cincinnati in Miller Park, American Family Field. Sorry.
Yeah, some people still call it Miller Park, so you're just pretending.
It'll always be Miller Park to some people. And for me, it's the first year of American Family Field. So, so 2 more games against St. Louis, 3 games at home against Washington, 3 games at home against Cincinnati, and then they're back to Minnesota. So tonight, just watching for Freddie Peralta. So you got anything else before we say goodbye for the week?
I wanted to mention one thing. I wanted to congratulate the last Antetokounmpo from becoming a champion as well. Alex Antetokounmpo, he was on the Kings who won the Summer League. So he's a Summer League champion. So all the Antetokounmpos, they all own titles of one way or another, whether they played or not. So just wanted to congratulate him. And I love the rivalry that the internet makes with the Antetokounmpos and the Ball brothers. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's funny to me. It's because Giannis is so great that his brothers get an opportunity, but it's also, and for the Ball brothers, it's because their dad is so annoying, which is why nobody gives them a break. He's calmed down the last couple of years, but man, that guy was a problem when he first existed.
When Lonzo was getting drafted.
Yes.
Oh my God, LeVar Ball was so annoying.
He went on Colin Cowherd's show, and I don't remember the woman that was on there, but she tried to ask him a question, and he said, "Stay in your lane." And that was kind of the point where I was like, yeah, this guy really doesn't give a fuck about anybody, does he?
It was super annoying, too, when he was talking about that LiAngelo was going to be like a top 5 pick, too, and then they were going to get all 3 of the Ball brothers on the Lakers, and he's like, how are they going to do that? And he's like, the big baller way.
Yeah.
Like, that's not an answer.
Remember when Lonzo was wearing the big baller brand shoes? Those bitches were weak as hell, man.
Dude, it was like a $2,000 shoe. I don't hold LeVar Ball in very high esteem.
No, me either. But anyways, just wanted to congratulate the last out to the Kumbo. Hopefully he gets drafted, not in the East. I hope he succeeds. Other than that, it's go Pack go. I am so excited for Saturday. Watch the Packers play the Jets, which apparently they absolutely destroyed them in practice today. So
that's what I've heard.
The Jets aren't crazy or anything like that, but hearing the Packers destroying people is always something that I love to hear, no matter who it is. So, Zach Wilson got a lesson today, man. He was getting sacked a lot. I heard they sacked him like 7 times or something like that.
Yeah, so we gave the players to watch on offense and defense. We had Josh back in to give us some as well. Next week, we're going to do some Badger football, some college football primer, and we're going to give some players and some positions to watch. And we'll probably give a record prediction for the Badgers, who are coming in the 12 to 15 range in preseason rankings, depending on if you're looking at coaches or AP polls. But the Badgers are looking somewhere in that 12 to 15 range. And we're going to get year 2 of Graham Mertz. I personally am looking forward to seeing how the running backs turn out. But next Wednesday, we're going to do a college football Badgers football primer. So that'll be something to look forward next week.
Wait, 12 to 15 is perfect range, buddy.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Perfect range. Yep. That means we have expectations, but they're not through the roof. Love it.
Yep.
That's exactly where I want to be every year. Well, I mean,
all right.
I want to be the team at the end of the year holding the trophy, but to start out, I'm okay with 12 to 15.
All right, man. Well, I will talk to you next week. Go Brewers, go Packers.
Yes, sir. Talk to you later.